Warning, the following review by Chili Chivy will be talking about a movie where the main character is a goat, so expect a lot of to be included in the video. Now please enjoy the review. Sony Animation's GOAT. Now this is a movie that's been on my radar for quite a bit. When the first trailer released, a lot of people were slightly interested in the movie. Mind you, this was riding off of Spider-Verse and K-pop Demon Hunters. But at the same time, this would be Sony's first original in quite a while they would be releasing in theaters. A lot of Sony originals that Sony didn't have faith in were just banished to Netflix. And I know Sony regrets that every single day for doing that to K-pop Demon Hunters. They lost out on a billion-dollar franchise. And when it comes to original animated movies in theaters, well, there's quite a track record. They really haven't done well, and honestly, we've only heard of really one success story, and that being Elemental, but that barely scaped by. And with this movie, I was hoping for the best, and you know what, if it does okay, then it does okay. But what surprised me was when I stepped into the theater, it was quite fairly packed, and I was just sitting there like, what? Usually when I see an animated film on opening day that's original, there's next to nobody in there, and if there is, there's maybe like 5 or 10 other people. It stayed very consistent with films like Elio, Ruby Gillman, I could go on. And mind you, I saw the movie on a Monday. I wasn't able to see it on opening weekend because I was busy that weekend. On Monday, it was packed. So when I saw that this movie was going to have the highest opening weekend for an original anime movie since Coco? Yes, that Coco.
Sweet, sweet fluids.
I was having high hopes, and I saw the reviews it was getting, and I was like, did Sony actually do it again? And after coming out of the movie, I can definitely say, yes, they did. I actually was pretty surprised coming out of this movie. You know, when it comes to these kind of sports stories, it's usually ending up either generic or pretty bad. And honestly, most viewers have seen this story. Maybe not some younger viewers that are going to go see this movie, but majority has seen it. But with this movie, Sony just added the Sony sauce that they've always been cooking with their other movies and just elevated a story that usually would be pretty generic and just added that Sony sauce and just made it so much more fun to watch. And yeah, this was a pretty good movie. Now, is it a masterpiece? No. But it's definitely another Sony animated film that can go up in the ranks as one of their best, and I just had a really fun time with it. Now to start off, the animation. The animation is already a given. The studio has already been breaking what you can do with a medium like this, and in this movie, it is really good, and honestly, making this a sports movie was the perfect idea. Because when you actually do get into the sports side of things in this movie, the way the camera moves, the way the animation is done, is just so intense and really brings you into the movie. And every time there was a basketball sequence like that, it was really immersive. And I heard this film was also playing in 40x, so feel bad for anyone that was in that seat watching this movie. But it was just such a fun ride in terms of that aspect. And the movie was actually pretty funny. In the trailers, I wasn't too sure on the humor in this movie. I was a little worried, but into this movie, it was actually pretty funny. And one thing that a lot of anthropomorphic movies don't really do is lean into the jokes you can do with the characters being animals. And this movie definitely leaned into a lot of those jokes pretty well. One character where the main character, Will, his main idol being Jet Fillmore, she has a lot of jokes in the movie that, reference her being a black leopard, but, also being a cat at the same time. There were some pretty good jokes in there as well. And also just the designs of the characters themselves. As for the main group that we follow throughout the movie, the team, I really like all their designs, and they're just all fun characters. I think my favorite would definitely have to be Moto the Lizard. He had a lot of fun jokes in the movie, and also just his design is just super cool. And the way they animate him is also just really cool. It was definitely very nice to look at on the eyes in terms of when he was in the basketball sequences. And one thing I'll definitely say, going into this movie, I was kind of expecting the usual sports story, which yes, it still does, does, but it adds a lot more layers to it that you would think going into this movie. Like, you actually do get into the meat of the sports world. You get into the pressure of being an athlete. You get the corporate side. There's a character in the movie that's the owner of the team, and realistically, she's not really looking out for the team. She's really only looking out for her own financial benefit. But at the same time, it gets pretty personal in terms of all these stories, and one thing I'll say is that Jet Fillmore, for most of the movie, has her own arc in this movie as well. She's at a losing team, the community around this team is just wanting her to leave, saying she's washed and she needs to leave, and they haven't won a single championship. And for a good portion of the movie, this pressure is on her needing to get that championship and still prove that she still has it. And this intertwines with our main character Will, who wants to prove that him being a GOAT can still play in this game. And at first, Jet Fillmore completely does not believe that he is right for this team at all. But as the movie goes on, things change. I won't get into details, but the way it comes together, I personally believe, is actually pretty nice. One thing I'll definitely say is, this movie doesn't really have a villain. It actually, well, mostly for the movie, has this antagonist that just ends up being a horse. He is very forgettable by the end of the movie, and I don't think much is really done with him. The only thing he'll have going for him is this stupid song they do in the middle of the movie. He does a diss track on Will because he originally had lost to him in a bet. And it's just, oh my, it's this verbal-ass music video, and it's just, oh my god.
No, you think you're all bad, but I'ma have you crying like that. Smoke's on you, act tough, but you're scared. I'm in your nightmare.
It's not meant to be good, but it's still stuck in my head. Like, it's so stupid that it's almost good with that song. But, you know, don't let that take it away from you. This movie was really, really fun, and it's not perfect. One thing I'll say, and it could be a problem to some people, and it could not to some, but the movie relatively, in terms of its story, you know, being a sports story, it relatively plays it safe. Yeah, it tries to do a few things in terms of getting into the deeper side of the sports world and how that all works, but, you know, that's been done in live-action sports stories, but it's not to anything that makes this movie bad. But don't go into this movie expecting a crazy story that lots of other Sony animated films have done in the past. This film plays it safe. It's a fun sports movie that brings together that fun Sony animation that has been prevalent these past few years, and honestly, that's just fine to a lot of people. Also, I love what the world did in this movie in terms of how it's brought together all these different biomes and how the community comes together for these teams. It's also something special in that aspect as well. But I do like all the biomes that this world has. It's a little similar to Zootopia, but I like the different kind of spin on things, and I think this is just going to be a pretty fun movie for people to watch in theaters. After the movie ended, people started clapping. This was a pretty enjoyable film. Now it comes down to the question, as an original animated film, how is it going to do? Well, in the opening weekend that it had, it opened to $47 million, which pushed past the best original animated film opening weekend since Coco, and that's just so good to see. And the fact it took almost 10 years for that to happen is a little concerning in the department of how studios market their movies, how much faith they have in those movies, and in this case, thankfully the curse has been broken. Maybe it could be that a lot of people have trusted Sony over the years in terms of their animated films, or people just found this movie and its premise fun. It was probably a mix of both, but I think this is very good in terms of pushing in the direction of how original animated films should be marketed, definitely. I mean, some of the marketing in GOAT was a little questionable, but most of it definitely did its job. Sony really did want this film to do well, and it's paying off for it. They actually picked a pretty good spot to place the film. It had zero competition, and they chose a good spot where winter break would be going on. Not for me, college, we'd love to see it. But at the same time, a lot of people are going to be able to have the time to see the movie, and with the reviews, it only helps it. So personally, in my opinion, to start off the year in terms of animation, GOAT has definitely done a great job in doing that, and yeah, it was one of my anticipated movies of the year, and I'm sure with other movies like Hoppers, the Super Mario Galaxy movie, and more movies to come, hopefully this year is a great year for animation, because we've started off with a great movie so far. But what do you think? What did you think of GOAT? Did you enjoy it? Did you less like it? Or you're kinda in the middle? I've seen a lot of different opinions, so I'd love to hear yours. Let me know down in the comments, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out.